Can I ask real briefly, if you could sum up the Orthodox objection to the Immaculate Conception and respond to it? And I want to remind people that we have an entire debate between you and Father
Ramsey.
Thank you. On this very topic. And it's approaching 100,000 views right now. Yeah. So for a more in-depth understanding of how the Orthodox view differs from the Catholic view, they can check that out. But could you sort of sum up the objection and respond to it?
Now, really, the number one objection, Matt, would be that they will tell us that Holy Mary died. The massive majority of fathers believe that Mary indeed died. Mm-hmm. And if Mary died, that is the result of the fall, of her having inherited original sin, they will say. They will also object to the language of stain. They believe it's a little bit too Latin, as we heard from Father Ramsey, and Father Ramsey's written articles on that very issue. But by and large, to me, Matt, that really does create a number of issues because, okay, well, when are you going to argue that Mary received the full possession of original justice? Now, depending what Orthodox scholar you want to talk to, there are some that believed in the womb, some that believe at the Annunciation. So Father Ramsey alluded to believing it was a little bit after Mary was created because he believed she had to inherit original sin because indeed Mary died. And they will point to the two witnesses of the book of Revelation. And they'll say, because a Catholic will point to Enoch and Elijah as being examples that, well, not everybody with original sin dies. They had original sin. And not everybody that dies has original sin, we'll also point to. They will then point to the two witnesses of Revelation and claim, well, Enoch and Elijah will return to die in the future. Thus, you cannot use that. Mary had original sin and Mary died. Now, I would point the audience, by the way, for an incredibly in-depth treatment of this and we've done work with them before. An incredible Catholic by the name of Elijah Yossi. Done an incredible amount of work. And in fact, he's one of the very best on the very topic. Now, when we look at that, Matt, when we look at the early fathers, we realize they're not even in close to unanimity in believing that Enoch and Elijah would be the figures to return and die. The other point, and as I pointed out to Father Ramsey, is Father Ramsey, in order for this argument to work for the Orthodox, Enoch and Elijah would have to return and they would have to die a normal death. But the witness in the early church talks about them returning and being martyred. Now, nobody believes that Mary was martyred. And them using Enoch and Elijah won't fill that particular issue. The other point that I would point to, Matt, and then I'll let Father chime in, is when we go to the very famous fathers of the Assumption and the Dormition, we mean Germanus of Constantinople, the great John Damascus, the great Andrew of Crete, and multiple others. They live in a period where we can dub them Dormition fathers because they begin to write a whole lot about Mary's Dormition and bodily Assumption. They talk about the death of Mary. We can also add Modestus of Jerusalem, Timothy. There are many figures that we can add, Matt. Theotechnos of Livius, and we've looked at all the texts, Matt. Here's a big problem for the claim that Mary's death was because of original sin. When you examine all of those fathers, they tell you Mary's death was very different. She did not die because of original sin. So that is another particular issue that when we look at those fathers that talk about the death of Mary, they don't believe she died because she inherited original sin. I think that's an important thing.
Okay. Thanks so much for watching. Please like if you liked, and if you loved, subscribe.